While the eyes of the world are on Iran and its crumbling regime, something major has just happened in Gaza. Hamas has agreed to hand over power in the Gaza Strip to a new and yet-to-be-created Palestinian government. Now, does this mean that Hamas is finally surrendering? Well, not exactly, and I'll explain what I mean in just a second. Also, Netanyahu just announced that he is working to end all U.S. aid to Israel over the next 10 years, and some incredible prophecy has just taken place in Samaria. After 3 months of a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, and with absolutely no signs from Hamas that they would disarm, and also Hamas failing to fulfill their side of the ceasefire agreement, namely to release all of the hostages, there's still one remaining in Gaza, it looks like Hamas might actually be about to relinquish its authority of Gaza. Hamas has reportedly issued orders to its governing agencies to prepare to hand over power to the technocratic Palestinian government proposed by Trump. Now, this new proposed Palestinian government is supposed to be overseen by the Board of Peace, which is reported to be created very soon, and will consist of individuals elected by Palestinians and approved by Israel. Kind of an interesting arrangement for this government there. Also, the members of the Board of Peace are expected to be announced by the Trump administration very soon, so stay tuned for that. Now, on the handover of power, Hamas spokesman Hazem Qassem said this, quote, "Based on U.S. President Trump's statement of his intention to form a Board of Peace for the Gaza Strip, the Hamas movement has issued directives to all government entities and agencies to prepare to hand over all its authority to this independent Palestinian technocratic committee. This decision is clear and final, and there are also instructions to facilitate the success of this Palestinian agency's work in line with the higher national interest and keeping with the plan to end the war on the Gaza Strip." So the question is, what does this mean for Israel? Is Hamas actually surrendering, and does that mean that Israel is no longer in danger from the Gaza Strip? Well, no. This move by Hamas is not at all what it seems to be on the surface. Hamas has issued orders for all its governing agencies to prepare to hand over its authority. There is no mention of Hamas actually disarming as a militant force as stipulated by Israel in the ceasefire agreement. Hamas is the ruling political party faction in the Gaza Strip, and they also have the dominant military force when it comes to all the Palestinian militant groups. So Hamas has agreed to hand over political control of the Gaza Strip while refusing to disarm its military factions. Not only has Hamas refused to disarm, Hamas has throughout the ceasefire been stockpiling weapons and continually launching attacks against IDF troops in Gaza. This still very real threat of Hamas aggression is why Israel is preparing for another attempt to wipe out Hamas terrorism. Now, the IDF is quietly preparing a plan to launch a large offensive against Hamas in Gaza City, possibly in March. Israel knows that it is extremely unlikely that Hamas will actually disarm, and they are preparing to have to go in and finish the job of eliminating Hamas themselves. An Israeli official told the Times of Israel that the Israel Defense Forces has drawn up plans to launch renewed intensive military operations in Gaza in March, with an offensive targeting Gaza City aimed at expanding the part of the Strip controlled by Israel. Now, Israel will likely need to get approval from Trump before launching this offensive in Gaza, but they may be hoping that President Trump will also come to the conclusion that Hamas will not disarm willingly and will need military action to end their threat to Israel and also to the world. Now, it is important to keep in mind that if the IDF went into Gaza City in another offensive against Hamas, that it would likely be much easier to operate than before for two reasons. One, all the living hostages are now home, giving the IDF more freedom to operate without having to worry about harming the living hostages that were in Gaza. And two, moving the civilians of Gaza out of harm's way would potentially be a little bit easier because a lot of them are now living in tents, and the IDF could move them to a part of Gaza that is under the IDF's control. Regardless, it is super important for a solution to be found in Gaza, and that solution cannot include Hamas staying in power or having military capabilities. I want to tell you about a very special opportunity. Millions of Christians visit Israel every year, but do you know how many of them come to Judea and Samaria? Hardly any. Unfortunately, they're missing out on the place where a major part of the Bible was either written or actually occurred. Most tours, however, ignore this incredible region of Israel. That is why we created the Heartland Experience, the only Israel trip that focuses exclusively on Israel's biblical heartland. This year, we have two 10-day trips, one in March and the other in June. Even though this is more of a tour experience, you'll get to meet the actual people of Judea and Samaria, and we also incorporate several volunteer experiences so that you can get your hands dirty while serving the people of Israel. The Heartland Experience is not only the perfect way to experience Israel, it's the perfect way to experience the land and people that call Judea and Samaria, Israel's biblical heartland, home. Sign up today at serveisrael.com/volunteer or just click that link down in the description below. Something interesting that took place last week that I actually think is very good for the nation of Israel is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just announced that he hopes to end all aid from the US by the year 2038. In an interview with The Economist last week, Netanyahu said, "I want to taper off the military aid within Israel the next 10 years. Israel receives some $3.8 billion annually from the United States, mostly in the form of subsidies to buy American-made arms. And the aid package, which took effect in 2018, is set to expire in 2028. Netanyahu said, "We want to be as independent as possible. In my visit with President Trump, I said we very deeply appreciate the military aid that America has given us over the years, but here too, we've come of age and we've developed incredible capacities." This topic of US aid to Israel has been a huge talking point for many of the Jew haters of today, that the US should not give any military aid to Israel because Israel is evil or whatever their argument at the time is. But this idea is actually something I agree with and something that Netanyahu has apparently been working on for some time. That Israel should not be dependent on any nation for military aid, period. While I think that the current agreement with the US is both beneficial for Israel and the United States, Israel would be much better off if it developed its own weapons manufacturing and wasn't reliant on any country that could withdraw that aid at any given time. Also, for Israel's sake, building this kind of program in Israel would be amazing for the Israeli economy. Before we close out the show, we have some good news from Judea and Samaria. Just yesterday, a new Jewish town was inaugurated in Samaria. The town of Rechavam was established with 10 families near the existing community of Migdalim, right here in Samaria. The inauguration ceremony was attended by Samaria's governor, Yossi Dagan, and also some of the leaders of the Amanah movement, which helped to found the new community. Now, this new community is part of an effort by the Samaria Regional Council to bring 1 million residents to Samaria. This town may only be 10 families, but it is a huge step in building up the land of Israel. Let me tell you, when a new Jewish town is established on the mountains of Israel, biblical prophecy is being fulfilled. In Amos, the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 14, it says, "I will bring back the captives of my people Israel. They shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them. They shall also make gardens and eat fruit from them." If you come to Judea and Samaria, you will see new farms, new vineyards, new communities sprouting up all over the area. This is super exciting because the nation of Israel is back in their land, and they are rebuilding the ruined places and bringing the land back to life, just like the prophets foretold. Guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to check out our upcoming Heartland Experience trips in March and in June. And as always, thanks for watching.